The Comfort Zone with Ray Comfort. Thought-provoking. Informative. Engaging. Are you ready to be inspired and equipped? And now, The Comfort Zone with Ray Comfort.
Welcome to The Comfort Zone with Ray Comfort. Now, friends, I have to tell you today that our aim, as many of you know, has always been to make you just comfortable enough so that you're uncomfortable about being comfortable. And in order to help do that, we have some clothing here at Living Waters that we want to make available. Is it Arab clothing, Ray?
I'll be the man of white.
Oh, look at that.
This is the Noah shirt. Noah in the last days. Look,
Oh,
it's got a little
yes.
V-neck.
Yeah.
Try it on.
So for those of you that love the ministry and want to support the ministry and want to promote the ministry, you can get some of these. That's on Mark Spence there.
That's the Living Waters shirt.
Living Waters shirt.
And there's the golfing shirt.
And the golfing shirt.
And you can have any logo on that you want.
Golfing shirt. How's this? What are we doing? Modeling clothes today, right?
And this is for when you sweat.
Ah, now this is the Arab clothing. Finally, here we go. How's that, my friends? All right, friends.
Hang on, I haven't started yet.
Oh, race purse.
Yes.
Look at this.
Look at this. This is a track bag, whatever, and it's got the logo on it, and you can have any logo put on it you want.
That's big, right?
And yeah, there's a bigger one.
Oh, yes. Computer bag? Mm-hmm. So anyway, friends,
Haven't started yet. Driving the car.
Keep bringing them in. Oh, there we go. All right. So livingwatersgear.com to get comfortable enough to feel uncomfortable about being comfortable and to help promote the ministry while you're at it.
I'm glad we don't have that logo.
Oh, boy. I'm glad we don't do this every day. Great to have you with us. Welcome again to the Comfort Zone with Ray Comfort. We are excited to have a very good friend of ours with us today. We're going to bring him in just a moment. But before we do that, we have him on the air today because we want to talk about an issue that's been going on a lot lately, not just around the world, but even here in the United States. We were talking about how in England, Christians have been persecuted for standing up for righteousness. We had our brother Tony Miano on, and we just recently talked about the other gentleman who was arrested, wasn't given any food or anything for hours and hours.
15 weeks.
Yeah, 15 years, and he's still alive. But anyhow, many of you may have already heard about the incident that took place at the University of Connecticut. I watched the video and actually was quite shocked to see a professor from the university freaking out on a bunch of Christians. And one of those who was a part of that bunch of Christians is our good friend, Andrew Rappaport from Striving for Eternity Ministries. Andrew, good to have you with us. How are you, my brother?
Good. Thanks for having me.
It's a blessing. So, Andrew, Ray's got the opening question for you, and then I'm just going to bombard you, and Mark Spence is going to pummel you. So, Ray Comfort, ask Andrew the question.
So we've got to watch a little video clip first, I think.
Yeah, why is Alan standing over there going like this? Oh, that's what that means. I'm like, are we in the Arsenio Hall day?
I thought even I know what that means.
I'm an Arab. I don't know. Okay, let's roll it.
You saw it here first.
That evolution is a lie. Have you read Origin of Species? I have read the New Testament and the Old Testament. I can tell you
Preservation of favored race. Say the whole title.
he was not talking about racism in the sense of players and human beings. He was talking about races in the sense of biological species. That's why it's called Origin of Species. Origin of
Preservation of favored race.
Absolutely no proof at all. Well, if you like that phrase, that's fine. But you're showing your own ignorance to say that it's racist. Praise Darwin! Praise Darwin! Woo! Amen! Have you accepted your place in the divine pattern of life, the tree of life, where you feel your spiritual kinship, not just with other humans, but also with your fellow mammals, with your fellow amniotes, with your fellow eukaryotes. We are all bonded together in that great spiritual web.
boy, what a great heckler. I would have had him up in the heckler's box. I would have snipped up and said $20 to get up in the box.
Hire him. Maybe he'll come out.
Oh, yeah. I mean, that guy's passionate.
Oh, boy.
He believes what he believes.
Yeah.
And so, Andrew, what exactly happened? Can you give us some details?
Yeah, well, what happened, that's actually a professor at the university. What happened was he got very upset over the sign that Don was holding that said, "Evolution is a lie." That's actually what he teaches. And he had an earlier conversation with Don, and then what happened was when Don picked that sign up again, Scott was preaching and said something like this. He said, some of you students or faculty may have been taught that you evolved from a monkey. And the professor got up and ran over and he said, "I did not evolve from a monkey. I evolved from an ape."
Let's get our facts straight, huh?
That's right. Well, and that's really what he was. I think, he was looking to basically kind of do what he called street theater, and he was focused on that issue, something he knew well, and he was going to just get on that to say, no, it's not a lie. This is what he teaches.
Wow.
So his job was on the line. That's why he's passionate.
No, I think he actually said that he has I guess an alter ego, and he had a name for this alter ego, which is a preacher, and he basically said that he was just in character of this individual, and used the opportunity of the street preachers, the real street preachers, to put his act on and see how it went. He didn't realize that when you're on the streets, anything can get filmed.
Right.
And
so did he?
I think,
did he get wrapped over the knuckles by the administration for doing something like that?
I don't know. The administration did come out with a statement that they had said that they don't approve of abusive language. I don't know what trouble he may be in. I have spoken with him. The conversation ended with he and I having some emails. He and I, after that, he went off and grabbed those group of students that you can see there. Then he and I started dialoguing. That group grew to about 100, 150 people. And we were, he actually wasn't as good of a heckler, Ray, as you might think, because you couldn't get a word in edgewise. Right. And but at one point, we tried to do some mutual respect and letting him speak. Then I would try to speak. And at one point, I pointed out he wasn't letting me, and students actually clapped when I pointed it out that he's kind of being a little rude. And so then he let me speak, and then I got to share the gospel with all the students that were there. And then when he wanted to speak again, I said, sure, and I left, and the crowd dispersed.
You got to give him the old WWDD, what would Darwin do?
Right. Andrew, you've been a friend of ours for years. You were a part of our Ambassadors Academies. You've helped lead people on the streets now for quite a long time. Is this sort of thing becoming more and more common in terms of people you wouldn't expect, especially as you go on the university campuses, to stand up, faculty members or teachers or maybe even just the heckler in general? Is this intensifying, for lack of a better description?
Yeah, I didn't, with the whole time, I did not think that I was personally in any danger. But seeing this is not unusual. When I actually spoke to the professor 2 hours today,
Wow.
Earlier today. He called me. And, I said to him, though I didn't think it was theater. And he said, well, how could you not? I said, because this is kind of what we see a lot.
Yeah.
We see this behavior, just not from a faculty member. That's what shocked me.
Yeah.
I've never seen that from a faculty member.
So, Andrew, how did you respond? And for the believers that are watching us right now who have been open-air preaching, whether it's been for a long time or a short amount of time, who are just thinking, man, what's the appropriate way to respond to hecklers? What did you do, and then what would you recommend others do in these sorts of situations?
Well, this was a little bit of a different situation that I've had, because in this case, I tried to give a little bit of, hey, why don't you talk and then I'll talk. That way we both could communicate and keep the crowd and allow for the gospel to be communicated.
Right.
But after he went for about 20 minutes, and actually it was kind of funny because at one point he says, now Andrew is going to say that I didn't answer his question. And I said, that's correct. I'm going to say that. And then I said, hey, you going to ever let me respond? And he was like, you've been here for 2 days. And so in a case like that, I tried to give, hey, let's do it back and forth.
Yeah.
it's different than like when Ray is out on the boardwalk and it's a good person test. When you're dealing with someone that's you're dealing with a specific topic, I want to get to the gospel. I don't want to talk evolution.
Right.
And that's where a lot of it was going. But, when you have hecklers like that, a lot of times, and what I did that time is I appealed to the crowd. I had, actually, when we were at Yale University that same week, I had someone yell at me that I was intolerant, I was racist and bigoted. And I appealed to the crowd and said, folks, you've been listening to me now for 40 minutes. Have you heard any of that come from me?
Yeah.
And the lady's like, well, you're judging me. I said, folks, have I judged anybody? No. And so I guess because of, depending how you do your open air preaching, I can appeal to the crowd because the crowd usually doesn't find me being rude.
Right.
So asking questions is a good thing to do which is how I started with him.
That's great.
Greg Kokel talks about that inside of his book, Tactics. That guy's a steamroller, right? And there's just no way to be able to get in a word edgewise. You have to do something to try to get a hold of the situation. Now, according to Christian News Network, I like to call them CNN. That might be another network there. But the professor was quite proud of how he handled the situation and what he said. In fact, he said this: the self-described Christian evangelists came to the University of Connecticut not with the good news of the gospel, but with a message of hate, bigotry, and ignorance. A mama bear will defend her cubs, a mother goose her goslings, and I will defend my students from strangers who came to call them sodomites, fornicators, and sinners condemned to hell. How would you respond to those comments, Andrew?
Well, the way I responded to the comment was I sent him an email. That's how I responded. Because we had ended our conversation after 2.5 hours that we had after that incident. I exchanged emails with him. I told him I'd take him to dinner. The offer still stands today. I'll take him to dinner. He has backed away from those comments, though, on the phone with me. He said that he took those comments that he was getting from other students who said that we were saying those things. He said that he recognizes now he did not hear that from any of us. And so he has, to me at least, apologized for for the statements of why he felt he was defending students. And I take him at that. I accept his apology. As a Christian, Christ has forgiven me. I forgive him. But when you have someone that, if he didn't apologize, the thing is to realize we still need to forgive him.
Yeah.
We don't expect him to act like a Christian if he's not a Christian. We wouldn't expect him to be saying, hey, look, I recognize I'm a sinner too. Please forgive me.
Right. Yeah, absolutely.
He said, you weren't there with the good news of the gospel. I know you were. But what does he think the gospel is? It's forgiveness of sins for adultery, fornication, lying, stealing, homosexual, all these sins that are abhorrent to God. We can be forgiven and granted everlasting life. The university put out a statement, Andrew, and this is what it read. I'm sure you're familiar with it. Everyone has the right to exercise free speech on our campuses. At the same time, we expect our faculty to act in a way that promotes civil discourse and to express themselves respectfully. The use of abusive language and the confrontational posture seen here are inconsistent with UConn's values. Obviously he's in some sort of trouble, and you've talked to him, you said, for a couple of hours. If you could do it all again, would you do anything differently?
Yeah, probably. I mean, I think that I would have taken into account that he may have been, as he says now, acting, but UConn put out that statement. I know most of the media has not printed the last line of that about the abusive statements. I think that we could have maybe had a better dialogue, and I'm looking actually to do that with him on that campus next year when I'm there, is to be able to do a dialogue in the open air. But I think that it would have been a little bit better in a sense of recognizing maybe that he, as Mark said, was a steamroller, using the tactics, as Greg talks about, of trying to kind of shame him into realizing he's not being fair with the time and not letting me speak. It did get the crowd to cheer and recognize that, even though they didn't agree with the message. But I think the thing was, it was the dialogue was effective in helping to realize. To get the gospel out. I think that we could have maybe not, irritated the professor in the sense of, really didn't like the signs. I don't see any issue with the sign, but some people may have an issue with that. So I know some signs people don't like that they hold. I don't know that I'd do anything different per se, because my intent of going onto the campus is to lovingly explain the gospel to students who need to hear it.
Right.
That's why I'm there.
If you have some sort of rapport with them, why don't you ask them for a civil indoor debate? 20 minutes, you give your side, 20 minutes he gives his side. You don't know who's going to turn up or something like that. You can share the gospel.
Right.
Good point.
That's actually what I'm hoping for. I'm hoping that we would be able to do that on the campus and have equal time of discussion.
Right. Andrew, we've done a bit of open-air preaching and evangelism on college campuses throughout the years, and I'm always delighted when I see believers doing that. We're seeing more and more of that happening. I mean, think of Berkeley, think of UCLA, and just the crowds that gather, and the fact that we have that sort of venue where you're able to get a crowd instantly and you could do it legally. So for those that want to do college campus ministry, what advice would you have for them?
Well, I would say this, and I guess this would be something if Ray said, what would I do different? Here's what I would do different. Get on one campus, build a rapport on that campus, and stay on that campus.
Wow.
There's some brothers out at UC Berkeley that have been doing that. And here in Rhode Island, I met a brother. Because they're coming back week after week after week, they've built a rapport with the faculty, with the students. And if you open air preach in a way where your attitude, your character is not the hindrance, you build that good rapport where people will defend you.
Yeah.
And people won't be so quick to just assume, as this professor did, he's assuming we're like the other preachers. What we found out was Westboro Baptist had been through the area not long, like the same week or week before us. And so there's probably that they're thinking, oh, this is more like them.
Yeah.
And we're not like them.
Right.
But if we're not there regularly, they're not going to know it. So I would say get onto the campus. If you can work through a Christian group that's on campus, even better, because if you're working with students, they can then communicate throughout the week to the students that are there. But I'd say try to find a campus near you and go on regularly, build a good rapport.
Yeah, I love that, Andrew. I'm going to kick it over to Mark, but before that, I just want to say, how great would it be, Ray, if Christians were raised up as supported missionaries who literally had their mission field at a specific university? We've seen other ministries do it, but not with open air incorporated, but where they regularly stand up in the open air every day and can reach out, and that would be wonderful.
Wouldn't it?
Yeah, Mark.
Yeah, your ministry, Striving for Eternity, it seems every year is putting together a training conference with some top-notch speakers. And then every once in a while you invite one of us to go and speak. But I absolutely love it. I was wondering if you could just take a moment, if you would, to talk about these conferences that you put on every year, and maybe a couple that are coming up.
Yeah, thanks. We call them Spreading the Fire. They are basically a training, both evangelism and otherwise. This year, Mark, you're going to be coming to the Ohio Fire May 30th, 31st. And EZ, I know you're coming to Jersey Fire, which is the second weekend in July. I think it's the 11th and 12th.
Right.
We've got other speakers. You guys are the top speakers, but we've thrown in guys like Phil Johnson and Greg Copel, to kind of balance out. We can't have everyone be as great as you guys.
Right.
And so, but you guys are going to be at those two conferences where we're going to talk about the family, which may surprise people. It's like, wait a minute, I thought it's an evangelism conference, and you're talking family.
Right.
Yeah, there's a direct correlation.
Yeah.
There's a need for us to talk more than just evangelism. Striving for Eternity is not just about evangelism or just apologetics. We try to bring the stuff together. And so we have a conference where we train people how to evangelize, but then we do something different than what we saw lacking in a lot of other evangelism trainings, which is we take people out on the street, like you guys do with the Ambassadors Academy,
right,
and take people out and actually do that one-on-one training. So it's a great event for people that never evangelized before, because if they've never done it before, there's people that can train them. There's good teaching that's there. Then we go out on the street Saturday night and they get more hands-on, one-on-one training. And you could go to spreadingthefire.org to find out about Jersey Fire, Ohio Fire, and the NorCal Fire.
Wow.
Well, you kind of stole my thunder. My next question was, how can they find out more about your ministry? And we've just, but so I've got a question that's far more important. Where's your name come from? What's its meaning? Rappaport.
Well, it's actually Levitical.
It is?
So, yes, it is. I was told by a rabbi. I was bar mitzvahed. I come from a Jewish family, so the Arabs are outnumbered on the show today.
Look at this. We got Alan over there, you there, Ray here. This is getting scary, man.
Should be.
I need to bring my brothers here.
Well, your brothers surround Israel, so we're going to surround you.
So what does a rapport mean?
I don't remember the actual. My father has a book on it. Most people know it from the play here in New York of I'm Not Rappaport, but I actually am Rappaport. I'm not sure the meaning of it, other than that it's Levitical. It's actually from the family of Korah. So we would actually be the family. If you read in 1 Corinthians, we'd be the family that actually has charge over taking care of the elements in the temple.
I found out what it means. It means stirring up professors.
Right.
Well, that was actually Scott and Don. I was the one that was supposed to calm them down.
Yeah. Good.
And you know, I will say for the record, that was probably the worst you saw of the 2.5 hours of him.
Yeah.
He calmed down and was much better afterwards, but that was probably the worst of the worst 2 minutes of the 2 hours.
Best 2
Well,
minutes.
God bless you guys, Andrew, for standing up for righteousness and what this has stirred. I mean, I think this is going to open more doors, and when you guys go back on campus, I'm sure you're going to get a huge crowd just because the news has broken on this story. So the Lord uses it all together for the good. I'm really excited about being with you guys out there in New Jersey in July, and so we want to encourage you, our friends, if you haven't signed up for one of those conferences, again, Mark will be in Ohio, right, Mark?
Correct.
Yeah. And I'll be in Jersey, so make sure to check that out at strivingforeternity.com and sign up. Andrew, thanks for being with us today, my brother.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Hey, Alan, were you trying to tell me something over there? .org. StrivingForEternity.org. There you go.
Just the wrong address.
All right, friends. Well, it was up there the whole time anyway. Well, what a blessing, huh? I mean, just the fact that stuff like this is making the news.
And we know as Christians that no matter what comes our way, God's going to work it out for our good.
Amen.
And you can see it come around. Even Saul of Tarsus doing his thing back then.
I was sharing this verse with that Romans 8:28. Sometimes it's so sad that certain things become so cliche. You know, you hear them so much that they don't hit you like they should. And we're so familiar with them that we really don't pause long enough to really think about their significance. God causes all things to work together for good. And I'm confident that that's one of the reasons why we can give thanks for all things to God the Father in the name of our Lord Jesus Christ. Not only does God work all things together for good, but what we should have instead of what we do have is the eternal flames of hell. And when we don't have that, then what we have is an undeserved blessing. Whether it's sickness or it's loss or it's persecution or it's death, we should have hell instead. We don't. Then that thing which is a trial becomes really an undeserved blessing. We can give thanks, we can rejoice in the Lord, and we can press on. Most importantly, we can maximize our effectiveness for God's glory and not let it be hindered because we're focusing on the trials. We can rejoice and move forward and trust the Lord.
That'll
right,
make
Mark?
a good book title.
Wouldn't that be good? The whole thing? Right, Mark?
Oh, absolutely. That's what it is. You know, we have to have Romans 8:28 in our rear view mirror, and we need to have it placed on our eyelids and have it written on our hand. All things work together for good. And in order to move forward, we are stretched. Things happen inside of our lives. We need to realize that God is the great physician, that He's in control, and He knows what He's doing.
Yeah, amen. All right, on to some questions. This is from Calix. I hope I'm reading it correctly.
Where's that?
Calix. I don't know. I'm a pastor and a door-to-door evangelist, best of both worlds, and I've got a question for you concerning this latter one. Many times I find people who are hurting one way or the other. My question would be, how can I share the gospel with them, focusing on their ultimate need while also being tactful, genuinely caring for them in their current situation? I've got contacts who are either very ill or in extremely difficult financial situations, etc., and I find it very difficult to focus on both issues, current and eternal, at the same time. So Ray, you have people that are hurting, he's knocking on doors, and people are struggling, suffering. He wants to strike that balance. How does he make sure he's not doing life enhancement is I think what he's asking.
Yeah.
And yet at the same time be sensitive and give him the gospel.
Obviously, you've got to be soaked in love and gentleness and understanding and choose your words carefully, but I think the analogy is if you're going to have to jump out of a plane, you put your parachute on, the guy next to you hasn't got his parachute on and he's got a broken leg, and you want to tell him to put his parachute on, you don't forget about the jump and the parachute because you're concerned about his broken leg.
Wow.
You just hope that the pain he's suffering from his broken leg doesn't distract him from the more serious issue, jumping without a parachute.
Right.
And so almost everybody today has some sort of trouble they're going through. And it's so easy to paint God as a problem fixer, when he's not. Often he'll leave you with your problems. The first thing you go into when you become a Christian is a wilderness experience on top of all your difficulties and pains and sufferings. You know, things often don't get better because we enter the kingdom of God through much tribulation. So we've got to be truthful, tactful, kind, loving, sweet, gentle, and perhaps give them a free card to take you out to a meal or something.
Right.
Add some love to your words extra, even love.
Yeah, Mark, how do you strike that balance between sympathy and empathy and...
Well, there's the practical side of it, isn't there? When we were pastoring together, we had the idea to go door to door and invite people, not necessarily to church and not even necessarily to Christ. We just let them know, hey, we're here in your area and we're here to serve you.
Right.
You know, if you need weeds pulled, if you need something painted, whatever you need, here we are. And we were a blessing to those inside of our community. So we need to do that in mind. Grab a hold of a few guys inside of your church and say, hey, let's go door to door and just say, hey, we're here, you're here. Let's get along together, and whatever we can do to help you guys out, well, here we go. And I remember Ray was saying that he brought grocery bags of fruits and vegetables or something, and it opened up huge doors for the gospel, and we can do the same.
So how many doors did you do?
Oh boy, our team did about 1,000 in our community.
That's amazing.
Yeah, isn't that nice up there, Ray?
Yes.
Yeah, we did about 1,000 homes.
That is a huge... Now, did it become easier? I mean, the first door you knocked on, was the last one easier than the first?
I think it was hard, got easier, and then there's days you go out where it's
so after a while you just kick in the door. You get so bold.
It. You just, hey! Yeah, but that was a sweet season. What we did was we told the neighbors, hey, we're not here to get you to come to our church. We're not here to sell you anything. We have a ministry set up to serve the community. If you ever need help with anything, we'd be glad to come out and help you. There's no donations accepted and absolutely no charge. We just want to be a blessing to you. And then we say, look, we're doing a real quick questionnaire. You got a few moments. And then we do this questionnaire. We go through the gospel, and so many people would go through it with us. I was surprised. And we had a lot of great divine encounters. So friends, as you just saw from the example of our brother Andrew and his team, and the example we've been trying to set for you now for years, listen, we are called to be ambassadors for Christ, to get out there and to reach the lost. So I know you have fears, I know you have hesitations, but God can equip you. So connect with us through Facebook, through YouTube, through Twitter. Check us out at tczlive.com. Subscribe to our YouTube channel. And most importantly, like we always tell you, we brought you into our comfort zone to get you out of your comfort zone. So get out there and proclaim the gospel for the glory of God.
For questions about the Comfort Zone with Ray Comfort, or to submit questions for future shows, please email us at email@tczlive.com. That's email@tczlive.com. The Comfort Zone is an outreach of Living Waters. For more resources to inspire and equip you to fulfill the Great Commission, check out livingwaters.com or call toll-free 1-800-437-1893. Now go and preach the gospel.